Hello, welcome to another review of Drones Visual. It has been a while since I reviewed a brush quadcopter, but as you can see, this is about to change. I usually try to avoid reviewing brush quadcopters because they're rather susceptible to wind, and it's very difficult for me to handle the camera and to fly the quad at the same time. And also, once you start flying brushless, well, you don't really want to go back. Having said this, I know that these little fellows are very popular and they usually come at a very nice price. They're also family friendly, and that's why every so often I select one to review. This one here, the Flyster Skyhunter, caught my attention a while ago because of its apparent good build quality and because it looks really interesting. It belongs to this category of foldable or pocket drones, which are trending now. So I decided to give it a try. What I will do today is show you as much as I can, and in the second video that I'll do about this quad, I will try to use some FPV goggles to fly it, but more about that later. Let's take a look now at what comes inside the box. The box has the right space for all the components. Once we remove this foam here, you would immediately see the drone folded, the transmitter, and some other components. Let me take everything out and show you one by one. Initially, we find the instructions manual. This one is actually very detailed and explains pretty well all the functions of the quadcopter. The next thing is a plastic bag that contains the batteries. The one here on the left is of course the LiPo battery for the quadcopter. And then I also got two little AA batteries for the transmitter, but I'm not sure that will be included in every package. Then we have another plastic bag that contains many components. And what I'm going to do is that I will show you one by one the components inside the box. The first thing is this USB charger. Probably many of you are familiar with this kind of chargers. The way it works is that you connect the battery on one end and then you plug it into any USB plug. And once the battery is fully charged, and I believe that takes around 90 minutes, you will see a red LED light in the USB connector. Then this is the battery connector, and probably many of you again are familiar with this sort of connector, and chances are that you have at home a charger for these kind of batteries, so that's a good thing. Then a tiny screwdriver that you could use to remove the props, as the props are secured with very tiny little screws, and you could also use it to remove some other screws in the quadcopter itself. These are the props, and each unit is divided in two, making it basically these are foldable props. So I will show you a little bit later how they look like, but it's a very nice design. I like this kind of design, and it's something that perhaps you can see in drones like the Wingsland or even the DJI Mavic Pro. These are the tiny screws that secure a plate that keeps the props in place, and then again I will show you a little bit more about that later. This is a smartphone mount, and you will place these on the transmitter, and then you can place your smartphone inside the mount. I think it's compatible with most smartphones, but you need to check if you have, a smartphone that is too large, well, maybe you need to use something else. The transmitter looks a lot like a game controller. Those of you that are gamers, I guess you can relate to, or you'll find it very nice. But it's also very comfortable to me, even though I'm no gamer. Finally, here we have the Flyster Skyhunter, and as you can see, it comes already folded and it's very compact and light, so that's good news. The tiny battery is a 650 milliamp one cell battery, and it should allow for a flying time of around 10 minutes, I believe. And we'll talk more about the flying time later, but that's what it says. Now, in case you are thinking about replacing the battery with something else, let me show you here the measurements, and it needs to be exactly this size, otherwise it won't fit in the battery compartment in the quadcopter. So basically we have 32.27 here. It's almost a square, but not completely, and around, yeah, almost 10, basically 9.7, 9.8. I'll say. Let's check the weight, and my scale is a little bit, I think it's something like 18 grams, something like this, I guess. 18 grams, yeah. And here's the transmitter. Now what I will do now is that I will show you a diagram with all the functions, so I don't have to go function by function. I think it's pretty simple. Also, the instructions manual has all the functions properly labeled, so you won't have no problems whatsoever using the transmitter. It's very simple and comfortable to use. It has 4 buttons here on the upper section, in case you didn't see that well, and each of those buttons has a function. Very nice, because often you get a transmitter that has maybe many buttons but just has a few options. The transmitter itself, it comes with it uses 2 AA batteries, and in my case they came included, so I'm gonna ahead and place them now. But I'm not sure if they will come included with every transmitter. I think that depends a lot on who's selling the quad, but in my case I got them. Now the transmitter is very comfortable, and then again, if you have ever played video games or something like that, you'll feel very comfortable using this transmitter. All the buttons and everything like that feel of rather high quality, I would say. And then again, all these buttons over here, they all have a function, they all work, so they're not just like some kind of a decoration or anything like that. To power the transmitter, you just press the center button over here that says power, and if you want to turn it off, you need to keep it pressed for a while, and then it will power off. Now, this is the quadcopter, and let me show you now how you can basically unfold the arms. Now, usually I think it's a good idea to start by the landing gear if you're outside, but I'm just gonna start by the arms here so you can see it. It's very easy. Just move the arms just like I'm doing. First the upper ones, and then the ones under, and it really takes no time. So basically now all the arms have been unfolded. Regarding the props, you don't really need to worry about them, because when the motor starts spinning, they would immediately be in the right position. So you don't have to do anything with the props, you can just let them be. You don't need to sort of unfold them or anything like that. It would automatically happen once the motor starts spinning. Under the quadcopter, you'll see the landing gear, and the landing gear also needs to be deployed. As you can see, you will hear basically a click once it reaches its position. Let me move here the FPV antenna a little bit. So, okay. And now the landing gear is also in place. And then here you can take a look at the quadcopter with the landing gear and the arms fully extended. Now I can help to notice that it looks a lot like some other quadcopter that I can't remember now, but I find the design rather original. Here in the front section we have an HD camera, and of course I don't expect high quality from this camera, but I will show you later some sample of the FPV footage I recorded with this camera while flying, and you can judge by yourself. Then under, if you take a look here at the bottom of the quadcopter, you will see the power button. This obviously is used to turn on or off the quadcopter, so the quadcopter won't automatically turn on as when you insert the battery. You need to basically power it using that button. Then here in the center you have the compartment for the battery with many tiny little holes to refresh the battery, which gets really hot actually. And then you can see a lock here to prevent the battery compartment from opening. Very clever thing. Then here we have the FPV antenna. This will transmit a video feed to your smartphone via Wi-Fi. So basically all the information will be stored, all the video data will be stored directly in your smartphone and not in the quadcopter. There is a slot here for your SD card, but let me warn you, if you get the FPV version of this quad, which is the one I have over here, do not try inserting a micro SD card there, because you're gonna lose it. It's just gonna fall inside the quadcopter because there's nothing there basically. There are 2 versions of this quad. One comes FPV equipped, which is the one I have over here, and the other one does not have that FPV function. So basically it has just a card reader there. But this one does not, doesn't have one. So when I tried to insert a card there, it basically just went inside the quad. Now here you can see the battery compartment. Exposing the battery is really easy to basically take out and place the battery. You have no problem with that. So all good. You can see the connector here next to the lock. Then the front arms, they have green LEDs, and the rear arms have red LEDs, and there's a button in the transmitter that you can use to power on or off those lights in case you don't need to use them. Now let me put the Flyster Skyhunter right here next to the Wingsland S6, and as you can see, the Wingsland is a very tiny quad actually. They are both kind of similar size, but you can see that the Wingsland is thinner, less bulkier I would say, than the Flyster Skyhunter. So wow, great work by Wingsland. If we take a look at the weight, I think it is around 117 grams. Definitely need to get a new scale. I know I've been saying that for a long time, but well. Another thing that you could do if you want to sort of try to get that sort of immersion experience is to purchase these sort of, they're not FPV goggles, they're just some sort of goggles, VR goggles or whatever you want to call them, that you could use to place your smartphone there and then fly like if you were using FPV goggles. Now I will try that in the second video, otherwise this video is going to be too long, but they're very simple. The way it works is that you insert your smartphone here, then you close it, and then of course you can fly the quadcopter FPV style, but more about that in my second video. Before going outside to fly, we obviously need to download the app, which is compatible with both Android and Apple devices. So it's very simple. You just need to scan the QR code. In my case, I'm using an Android phone, so I'm gonna use the Android code. Once you scan it, you can download the app. It's very simple. Then I'm gonna place this smartphone holder over here, because later I will use my smartphone just to try that FPV sort of function. Then we have to go to the power the quad, of course, first, and then we move to the Wi-Fi section in our smartphone, and then you'll see something like it says Wi-Fi UFO or something like that. You must press there to connect. No password, no numbers, nothing needed. It would automatically connect. So that's very, very simple. Usually you need to input some sort of password or something like that, but not in this case. Then we go to the app that we just downloaded and installed, and we press here. We wait for a while, and voila, here we have it, the FPV feed directly from the camera. Now there seems to be, I don't notice any lag, which is good, but obviously I'm very close here to my smartphone. I'll see about that later when I fly some more, but so far so good. Then of course you can control it also using your smartphone directly. You don't necessarily need to use the transmitter. Of course I prefer the transmitter, but you could also control it using your smartphone. Then here we have the so-called video recording function. Let me press it here, right? Once you do that, you will see a red timer appearing here in the center of the screen. Now what is happening now, because the drone itself or the quadcopter does not have an SD card inside, what is happening is that it's sending the video signal to the smartphone, and the smartphone is recording the video signal. So all the videos are within your smartphone. You don't need to download them or anything. You could now, for example, access it and play it directly, and there's gonna be no lag or no need to download it, because it has been directly recorded into your smartphone storage. That's why, for example, if you try, usually, you know, if you have this kind of app, you need to download the video, but here the video is already in your smartphone. So the only option you get is to delete it. The same with photos. The photos will be stored in your smartphone's memory. So no, that's kind of nice, I think, rather than having it into the SD card. So good to know that. Now, what I want to try next is to try the sort of auto takeoff function, and as you can see, it works pretty well. Also, controlling the drone or the quadcopter with the smartphone is rather easy. Usually it can be a pain in the ass to control some of these quadcopters with a smartphone, but this one is rather docile and it seems very stable, and it seems to be also keeping its altitude. So I find it very easy to use my smartphone to control it. I have tried some other quadcopters that are very hard to control with a smartphone, but this one is very easy. As you can see, I'm right here in a few meters controlling it without problems whatsoever. So that's good news. Then let me tell you something. If you want to use both the smartphone and the transmitter, I mean, if you want to fly, for example, using the transmitter but get the video FPV feed in your smartphone, you first have to power on the quad, then power on the transmitter. And once the transmitter and the quad are bound, then you can go ahead and connect with your smartphone via Wi-Fi and use the app, not the other way around. Otherwise, you might not be able to pair it with the transmitter. Okay, we are outside now for a flight test. Let's deploy the landing gear first. Okay, all good. Now I'm gonna deploy the arms as well. Very simple and easy. It's a really beautiful day today, although a little bit windy, so it's a good weather to try the quadcopter. I'm gonna power it on now, and once the quadcopter is on, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the transmitter. You'll hear a beeping sound, and then just move the stick, and you'll hear another sound, and then it's kind of ready to go. Basically, if I unlock the motors now, you can see that they automatically start spinning, so the quadcopter is ready to go. But you could also use the auto takeoff function with the transmitter, which works pretty nice. Just press this button here for a few seconds, and as you can see, the quadcopter will take off without problems. Really easy to fly. Now, as I was mentioning, today it's a little bit windy, so basically the quadcopter, I need to control it, and at the same time I need to use my camera to show you how it flies. So what I'm doing is using one hand to control the quadcopter. Here I have the transmitter, and with the other hand I'm holding the camera. This fellow is flying in the so-called easy mode or stable mode or low or whatever you want to call it. So it's so easy to control. I think this is really good news for beginners because it's really easy to control. As you can see, I'm using just one hand, and I need to control it because it's a little bit windy and it's drifting a little bit, so it's hard to basically keep it in place. That's why I need a little bit of use the transmitter to keep it in place, and with the other hand I'm using the camera. But what I'm trying to show you is that it's very, very easy to control in this so-called low mode, which is makes the quadcopter very docile and less responsive. Great for beginners. Now if it's windy, this mode can be a little bit tricky because sometimes it's if the quadcopter is flying against the wind, it won't be able to make much progress if it's windy. Now we have in here a light breeze, which makes it okay, but let me tell you that if you're flying in windy conditions, you will not want to use this mode because it's very hard for the quadcopter to fly against the wind. But check it out here, I'm using one hand and the fellow is very stable. Yeah, I mean, I think beginners would basically love it. And if you're an advanced user and you would like to see some more spotty flying, wait a minute, because I'll try the other flying modes later, and I think you're gonna like them. Now I'm using the transmitter now to control it. As you can see, I'm not using the smartphone. I think with the smartphone maybe I cannot just use one hand, or at least it's gonna be a little bit harder. But with the transmitter, this drone allows me to use one hand and control it without problems whatsoever. This fellow, I'm sure, if the weather conditions now will be a little bit, if we won't have so much wind now, it could stay in the same place without problems. Okay, let me put the camera in place now and try to fly it using both hands. Again, I'm using now this sort of slow or low or beginner's mode, which is very, very stable, but the quadcopter is of course not very responsive in this mode, which, well, makes it a little bit boring to fly, but great for beginners, as I was saying. What I will do, after showing you a little bit how it sort of feels to fly it in this low or beginner's mode, is that I'm going to change to high, which is or medium. Yeah, medium is the second flying mode. It has 3 flying modes: low, medium and high. So I'm gonna go ahead now and switch to the so-called medium flying mode, and right away when you switch to this medium or M, you will see an M in your screen, in the screen of your transmitter. You will immediately notice the difference because the yaw rate immediately changes. It goes way faster and the quadcopter becomes way more responsive already in high, and that's in medium. That's not the highest sort of rates that you can get. So right away you can see here now, wow, it feels so different, so agile now. And this is medium. I'm not flying yet in the sort of fastest flying mode, but it already feels very sporty, very responsive, and it's gonna be a lot of fun for many people to fly. Yeah, I'm loving it like this. This is the way that it should feel. But again, it's great that it includes that beginner or stabilized or super stabilized or whatever you want to call it mode. but now in high mode it's feeling really nice. Let's go now and try the so-called high mode. This is as fast as it gets in terms of rates, and wow, a big difference. You know, this feels a little bit like a, you know, like a FPV racer kind of, I'll say. It's very responsive, the yaw rate is very fast, and I believe it will be hard for beginners to control properly in this flying mode. So this flying mode is definitely for, I mean, sort of advanced pilots, I would say. So I mean, yeah, great agility. It's definitely like the sports car here. I'm loving it. I'm not sure if you can see it here. Let me spin a little bit here. Yeah, it feels nice. It feels nice. Just be careful, because when flying in this high mode, it seems to be less keen to keep its altitude. So as you can see, when I accelerate a lot, it goes a little bit sort of to the ground. So keep an eye on that when you're flying in this mode. Now the next thing that I want to show you is obviously the quality of the footage recorded with the onboard camera, which is not great, but here you can see it. I believe the resolution of the footage is like 720 by 540, something like that, but obviously it's a very low resolution, and because I recorded all this video in Full HD, that's why you can see that there's just a square here in the center of the screen, because the resolution of the camera, of the onboard camera, is way lower. I mean, this is exactly what I expected. I've seen much worse, so I mean, I can tell you it's not bad compared to some other quadcopters out there, but it's definitely, I mean, I have really nothing that I can do with such a footage other than, I don't know, just yeah, I guess some people can, I don't know, post this on Facebook or something. But anyways, you can record video, as you can see it here. This video was recorded directly into my phone storage. There's no SD card in the drone, as I was mentioning, and this is the quality. You can be the judge yourself. I mean, this is something that you like, or you find it maybe not good enough or whatever. There's a lot of wobble and vibrations, of course, no image stabilization for this camera, but I mean, that's what you get with this kind of brush quadcopters. Okay, so I'm gonna conclude my video now. In the second part, I'll try to fly using those VR goggles, or, you know, semi FPV goggles, and I'll share with you the experience of doing that. This is a pretty good quadcopter. I mean, everything worked properly, all the functionality, the app, no bugs or anything whatsoever. The flying time was close. It was around 8 minutes, I believe, close to 10 minutes, just like the manufacturer says. So I'm really happy with it, and I'm looking forward to flying some more, also FPV style and stuff like that. I believe that the range is around 100, yeah, maybe 80 to 120 meters. That's not a lot, but that's sort of the kind of range you get with these brush quadcopters. Regarding the price, I'm not quite sure whether it's 80 or 100. I'll need to find out some more about that, and I'll place a link in the description. So I'm sorry for not having this information right now with me, but otherwise I'm really loving this little fellow now, and I think it's a great brush quadcopter. I'm not a big fan of brush quadcopters anymore, but I certainly like this one. Now, if you're interested in the topic of drones and you would like to get the latest news and reviews directly from China, do not hesitate and subscribe to my channel. And please, if you find this video useful, drop me some comments in the section below, and I'll definitely get back to you, and I'll appreciate that. I hope to see you all in my next video.